Sometimes I see tourists and they have purchased bottled water and they're hesitant to drink that water. Don't be hesitant. That water is amazing and fresh and cool and delicious. I'm Wendy Holloway, and this is Flavor of Italy, sharing the very best of Italian food and wine, lifestyle, and culture. Good morning. This is Wendy Holloway with the Flavor of Italy podcast and YouTube. And I have something to talk to you about today, and it's the heat that we are experiencing here in Europe. I've already been out for my kilometer swim. I'm sitting inside in air conditioning, perspiring, and it's still early morning. I'd planned to sit out on the terrace and in the garden and do this recording, but it's just impossible. It's way, way too hot for that. Let's talk about how Italians survive summer and staying cool during a record heat. So, this is something that we face every summer. I've taken some notes here and I'm just going to make sure that I don't miss anything because this is something I want to share with you, people who are visiting now and planning to visit even later in the summer or in the future, because frankly, every summer Europe gets hotter. So, if you've been following the news, you've seen the headlines about the record breaking temperatures, red heat alerts, prolonged heat waves. And these aren't isolated events anymore like they used to be. I've been living here for 43 years, and I can tell you that the kind of summer I experienced in the 80s when I first started coming to Italy is a completely different thing, and certainly June. Italy has always had hot summers. Romans have always escaped to the coast in August. Shutters have always been closed against the afternoon sun, and long lunches followed by quieter afternoons have been part of daily life in Italy, the siesta, for generations. But today's heat is different. Temperatures of 38, 39, 40 degrees Celsius are becoming more and more common and becoming the norm. And those temperatures, like now, and we're still in June, albeit the end of June, often last not just a day or two, but even a week. And that's what we've been dealing with right now. So that changes the way that we travel. And one of the reasons that Rome is actually easier than other Italian locations is because of the water. Water has always been an integral part of the city of Rome's design. When the ancient Romans built their aqueducts, they weren't simply solving the problem of providing drinking water. They were creating a city where water was constantly moving, cooling, cleaning, and refreshing public spaces. And that's still the way it is. Fountains weren't merely decorative. They supplied neighborhoods with fresh water and helped improve daily life. And that philosophy continues today, particularly in Rome. Now, the modern nasoni, and you'll see those are the fountains that are speckled throughout Rome. And they're called nasoni because it comes out and looks like a nose. And then if you press underneath where the water is flowing out, the water comes up so that you can drink it. There's a little hole on the top of the nasoni. It's actually very unique and cool. And that's a way of getting drinking water. These modern nasoni first appeared in 1874 under Rome's mayor Luigi Pianciani, and their purpose was beautifully simple. Every Roman, regardless of wealth, should have free access to clean drinking water. And more than 150 years later, that philosophy hasn't changed. Even today, you'll see business executives, construction workers, school children, priests, tourists, cyclists, and elderly Romans all stopping at exactly the same fountain to fill a bottle or take a drink. And sometimes I see tourists and they have purchased bottled water and they're hesitant to drink that water. Don't be hesitant. That water is amazing and fresh and cool and delicious. So have a bottle on hand that you can fill up, but don't buy bottled water when you have access to this incredible water. One question I'm often asked is why the water never stops running. People say, that must be wasting water, isn't it? It's actually quite the opposite. And the constant flow prevents water from becoming stagnant inside the pipes, keeps it cooler during the hottest months, and ensures that when someone arrives for a drink, fresh water is immediately available. Now, during a Roman summer, like this one, you'll quickly appreciate that the water coming from a nasone is noticeably cooler than the water sitting inside a plastic bottle you've been carrying around in your backpack for 2 hours. And another question I get is whether visitors should buy bottled water. I think I've already answered that. And personally, I don't think it's necessary in Rome unless you simply prefer bottled mineral water. The city's drinking water is rigorously tested, perfectly safe, and of excellent quality. Carrying a reusable bottle not only saves money, it also saves an extraordinary amount of plastic waste, something we should all be thinking about these days. Think about it for a moment. If you're walking around Rome for 5 or 6 days in July and June and August, buying 3 or 4 plastic bottles every day, that's nearly 24 bottles that simply does not need to be produced. There are also practical tricks that Romans use without really thinking about them. So, for example, don't drink half a liter of water all at once because you're suddenly thirsty. Instead, drink small amounts frequently throughout the day. Every time you pass a nasone, stop for 30 seconds, have a drink, refill your bottle, even if it's only half empty. Splash a little water on your wrists, wet the back of your neck, and if you're wearing a linen scarf, you can dampen it. And these tiny habits sound almost too simple to matter, but together they make an enormous difference over the course of a long day. Another thing I've learned from living here is that dehydration often disguises itself as something else. So visitors tell themselves, oh, they're tired, they're irritable, or getting a headache because they've walked too much. And sometimes that's true, but often, though, they're simply dehydrated. And 20 minutes in the shade with water and something to eat can completely change how you feel and keep you from getting dehydrated. And speaking of food, Italians instinctively change their diet during the summer. And I think visitors should too. Instead of ordering the richest dishes on the menu every day, take advantage of what the season naturally provides. July and August are when tomatoes are at their absolute best. And think of peaches and plums and all the other amazing fresh produce. So get yourself a cold plate, a insalata caprese, which is sliced buffalo mozzarella cheese and tomatoes with a little bit of and wonderful olive oil. That's what you need for a lunch. It's cooling, refreshing, and equally delicious, believe me. You can also get seafood salads. This kind of thing is maybe a better option when it's really hot. And then if the temperatures do reach 40 degrees Celsius, don't feel bad about changing your plans. Spend 2 hours in a museum or a church instead of standing in line outdoors. Browse through a bookstore, have another coffee. Rome rewards people who slow down enough to notice it. And there's slow food is one thing, slow travel is another. Just take the time to really see what's going on around you and absorb Rome. So, another question is, what do you do during the hottest part of the day? You might want to just go back to your hotel, lay down, take a rest in your nice, cool, air conditioned room. That's something Italians have been doing really for centuries and centuries, way long before there was any air conditioning, just to take that siesta. So you might want to consider get up really early in the morning, like 6 or 7 in the morning when it's nice and fresh, and walk around and enjoy yourselves. And then when it starts to get warm, go into a church, have your nice lunch. The churches are full of artwork, okay? So let's think about Piazza del Popolo. You're right in the center there. There's a church there that has 3 Caravaggio paintings, and that's pretty much the case with most churches in Rome. You'll find some wonderful, incredible work of art in a church. So then once it gets really cooled down a little bit, then go out in the late afternoon. So you want to kind of start to think like a Roman. The Colosseum and the Roman Forum, they're not going anywhere. Go tomorrow morning instead of today in the 40 degrees Celsius afternoon heat. All these things will still be waiting for you. Rome's been around for thousands of years. You can catch these things at a time when the temperature is healthier to visit. So I would say the same thing applies to museums. Don't treat museums as a backup plan for rainy weather. Think of them as an essential part of surviving a Roman summer. And one museum I recommend over and over again is Palazzo Massimo. And it's part of the National Roman Museum. But a lot of people overlook it in favor of more famous attractions. And it's somewhat of a mistake because you'll find breathtaking Roman frescoes rescued from ancient villas, some exquisite mosaics, bronze sculptures, the famous Boxer at Rest. And you could easily spend 2 to 3 hours in Palazzo Massimo, which is amply air conditioned. Another one, and you really have to book in advance, is the Galleria Borghese, the Borghese Gallery. And I won't even start to tell you all the incredible art that's in there. Bernini, just everything you can imagine, from paintings to sculptures. You have 2-hour time slots when you reserve. It's not, you'll get a crowd in there, but it won't be overcrowded because it's limited to a certain number of people in that 2-hour time slot. Or maybe you just don't want to do another museum. There can be overload with that as well. So go to a more kind of a fun place like the Rinascente. It's a department store and it's on Via del Tritone. It's really air conditioned. It's got bathrooms, great seating areas, an incredible rooftop restaurant with amazing views, an area where you could go and buy some food delicacies to take back home to friends and family. Order a drink in the lounge or shaded terrace and That's just one of the greatest things about Italian culture. Sitting quietly and enjoying where you are is not considered wasting time in Italy. It's considered enjoying life. Another thing is to try to avoid a goal of over accomplishing things you want to do. You're on your vacation, Rome is amazing, and you want to get in and take in as much as possible. Plan yourself around neighborhoods. Pick a neighborhood and see what all is there, and just take your time going through that little area of Rome, a certain neighborhood. And there are incredible things in every single neighborhood. You'll find great places to eat, wonderful churches, galleries, wherever you are in Rome. There's so much contained in each and every neighborhood. Use a Google map and just try to narrow down the area that you're going to try to cover on these hot days. And transportation, let's think about that. How are you going to get around Rome? So maybe you do want to do something in one area and then go to another area. Okay, you can get a taxi. The metro system is incredible. So are the buses, but the metro, there's an A line and a B line. They intersect at the central train station of Termini. And now there's a C line too. And you can actually spend some time going to the Colosseum and seeing what they excavated when they built that train stop, that metro stop. It's incredible. It's like an underground museum and really spectacular. They've done it so well. That's something not to miss. And it's incredibly cool. And then just the Termini train station itself has so much going on, all kinds of shops, all kinds of eateries. If you're in that area, just stop and take advantage of being right there in the station. Let's talk a little bit about clothing, because the way you dress impacts how you feel and how comfortable or uncomfortable you are during the heat. I've learned that linen has become my best friend. And there's a reason you'll see so many Italians wearing linen shirts, dresses, and trousers throughout the summer. Linen breathes exceptionally well, and it allows perspiration to evaporate quickly, and it feels noticeably cooler than many synthetic fabrics. Cotton is another excellent choice, but definitely avoid heavy denim like jeans. Polyester brands can become surprisingly uncomfortable after several hours outdoors. And guess what? Color matters too. Dark clothing absorbs more solar radiation than lighter colors. And that's why you'll see so many whites, creams, pale blues, and soft earth tones during an Italian summer. The same goes for hats. A baseball cap shades your face, but it does leave your ears and the back of your neck exposed. Whereas a lightweight straw hat or a wide-brimmed linen hat provides a lot more protection. And you'll notice that many older Italians in particular wouldn't dream of leaving home without it. And then let's not forget about footwear. Rome's beautiful San Pietrini, which are those small cobblestones that pave so many of the streets, are part of the city's charm, but they are not very forgiving when you walk around. Certainly don't think about walking around with heels, but I do see a lot of women doing that and managing to navigate them quite well. I'm not one of those. I'm all for the comfortable walking shoes with a good support. And that's really one of the best investments to make before your trip. Fashion is important in Italy, but so is practicality. And sore feet have a way of making everything seem less enjoyable. And then finally, don't underestimate just carrying a few things with you. My summer bag always contains a reusable water bottle, sunglasses, sunscreen, a folding fan, and a lightweight linen scarf. The folding fan may sound kind of old fashioned, but when you're waiting for a bus in full sun, it is a godsend. And then the linen scarf serves several purposes. I always have a scarf on no matter what the season is. So if I walk around, I can place it over my shoulders before I enter a church, use it to protect the back of my neck from the sun, dampen it with cool water from a nasoni, as I mentioned before, and wear it for a few minutes on particularly hot afternoons. None of these items is expensive. None takes up much space. And believe me, they are all essential. And then trains are amazing in Italy. And I mentioned going to the Termini train station, the central train station. Go there and jump on a train and make a day trip to a cool place. There are lots of beach places that you can access with a very quick and so inexpensive train ride. And one place I go to all the time, I take a train down to Fondi, and then I jump on a bus to go to Sperlonga. That is, if we're not driving. It's a great beach area, and it's really just a wonderful place to go. You can get to Lake Bracciano easily. And then there are three principal towns around the lake, not Bracciano, but there's also Anguillara Sabazia and Trevignano Romano. And each of these has its own personality. They've got great little lakeside restaurants, really incredibly fun places to visit. And then if you want to visit, and this used to be a favorite of my sister-in-law's, a much quieter lake, you can visit Lake Martignano. And unlike Bracciano, there are no lakeside villages around it. And much of the shoreline remains protected. Now, reaching the shoreline does require a walk. And then think about it, at the end of the day, you have to walk back up the hill where you came from. But it's a lovely lake and well worth a visit. Then another beach place you could reach heading in the opposite direction of Sperlonga is Santa Marinella. And this has long been known as the truly Roman beach. It's easily reached by train, and generations of Romans have headed there when they want a quick escape from the city. The beaches there are a mixture of sandy and stretches and rocky coves. And you'll find places with stabilimenti balneari, which means where you can rent a lounge chair to stretch out on and have an umbrella, or you can just hit a public beach. I love these beach clubs. I know a lot of people want to find a beach that doesn't have this, but it's great because they usually have a little place where you can use a bathroom, get the salty water off of you after you've spent a day at the beach. You have the lounge chairs, you've got an umbrella with shade, something to eat. That's really a wonderful thing and worth the investment and not very expensive. Now, Italians typically, they really follow the heat of the day. So they'll get out to the beach, but when it's lunchtime, they do love their lunch, and they will head to a restaurant or head home and have lunch, and frequently have a siesta to not be in the scorching sun. So that's probably something that I would suggest. Take a break in the hottest hours of the day and enjoy a fabulous seaside meal. There are places all along the coast where you can find that. And then the evening is perhaps one of the best times, particularly on the seaside. You'll see that people go out to eat, they start eating at 8:30, and then they do what they call the passeggiata, and they stroll all along the seaside and boardwalk, if you want to call it that. They chit chat. It's really a wonderful social time of the day. Look at shop windows, sit down, have a drink. It's wonderful. And then, of course, let's not forget getting a gelato. Put your phone in your purse or your pocket and just enjoy that passeggiata experience. It's wonderful. It's one of my absolute favorite things about Italians. So I think if I could leave you with just one thought after 43 years of living in Italy, it would be this. Don't measure your trip by how many places you checked off a list. Measure it by how well you experienced the places that you did visit. Climate change is forcing us all to think differently about summer travel. And that doesn't mean that Italy has become less wonderful. It simply means that we have to travel more intelligently. Get up early, drink often, trust the nasoni, respect the afternoon heat, luxuriate and enjoy your long lunches, discover the cool silence of Rome's churches and their fabulous hidden bits of artwork. Spend an afternoon in a museum instead of under a blazing sun. Escape to a lake or the sea if temperatures really become overwhelming. And when evening finally arrives, join the Italians. Take a leisurely passeggiata. Order a gelato. Sit in the piazza. Listen to the fountains. Watch the city come back alive. I think that's one of the greatest pleasures Italy has to offer. Thank you so much for spending this time with me and listening to my tips on how to deal with the Roman and Italian summer heat. I hope these ideas help you enjoy Italy comfortably and confidently, even during the hottest months of the year. If you're planning a summer trip, I'd love to hear your own strategies for staying cool. So please leave a comment on the flavorofitaly.com blog or send me a message. Until next time, stay cool, enjoy every moment, and I'll see you the next episode of Flavor of Italy. Ciao for now. This has been Flavor of Italy. Find us on www.flavorofitaly.com and on Substack, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook, always as Flavor of Italy.